A famous restaurant in New York City did a study after noticing extra slow service, even with more staff being hired, and simplifying the menu. In 2004, the average overall time from the start of customers sitting down at the table to when they leave was about 1 hour. In 2014, the service time increased to a whole hour, adding up to 2 hours. Why, you may ask? Due to the customers taking their phones out before glancing at the menu, spending an average of 25 minutes checking social media at the table, asking the waiter to take a group picture, taking pictures and Snapchats of their food, and asking the waiter for the Wi-Fi password. The restaurant in turn got bad reviews for slow service and cold food because of the time delay due to our obsession with smartphones.
Los Angeles sunsets, coastlines, and clouds passing by have all been hidden behind the iPhone right in front of our eyes. Endless summers have turned into zoning out and never unplugging from Wi-Fi, with everything in the world just one click away. Through extensive research, today we are going to inform you on the history of wireless internet, how smartphones have changed communication, and how this technology has changed our human behavior, its influence on society today. Now that we've informed you on our main points, we are going to move on to the history of the wireless internet.
There are several components that make up Wi-Fi, including the router, Ethernet cable, adapter, and whatever device you're using to connect to the internet itself. Therefore, it's hard to put a name on who invented Wi-Fi. We can tell you that Vic Haynes, the father of Wi-Fi, according to expert Mary Bellis, he chaired the IEE committee and created the 802.11 standard in 1977.
The Wi-Fi Alliance tasked Interbrand Corporation to figure out a name for this new branch of internet. They began using the slogan, "the standard for wireless fidelity," during advertisement. So therefore, Wi-Fi came from wireless fidelity. Let's look at the history of Wi-Fi and what it actually is. According to expert Becky Wood, Wi-Fi is a way of getting broadband internet to a device without using wires. Wi-Fi uses a wireless transmitter to send information to your computer. This allows an electronic device to exchange data with the transmitter, sending information to and from the wireless device.
As said earlier, Wi-Fi was introduced to people in 1997, and routers came into the world in 1999. According to ehow.com, the purpose of the router is to send and receive packages over the internet. The router was programmed to get information from point A to point B in the most efficient and expedient manner necessary. Now that we have informed you on the history of Wi-Fi and how it came to be, let's take a look on how it shaped our community today with smartphones.
Smartphones are a form or extension of normal phones, allowing us to access people faster and in newer ways, rather than just through phone calls or texting. Today, we have the fastest forms of Wi-Fi and are able to be in contact with each other through messages, pictures, and even sending our locations in a matter of seconds. Communication has moved from calling your loved ones and hearing their voices to sending a snapshot of pictures every day to show what you're doing. This is possible through apps such as Instagram or Snapchat. This has caused a pneumatic of unethical behaviors of people when they're not around their phones.
According to Susan Scotti from Medical Daily News, as a generation, we are becoming dumber as our phones get smarter. Mental comprehension, critical thinking, and spatial awareness levels are dropping dramatically as we use our phones to get awareness rather than our own brains. We use our phones to get answers rather than our own brains. Statistics about the need for phones in the U.S., according to Tim Elmore from Psychology Today, include 65%, or about 2 in 3 people, sleep with or next to their smartphones. Among college students, it's even higher. 34% admitted to answering their phone during intimacy with their partner. What happened to valuing the person you are with in person?
1 in 5 people would rather go without shoes for a week than take a break from their phone. More than half switch their phone off. More than half would rather switch their phone off. I'd call that an addiction. A full 66% of young adults suffer from nomophobia. Now that we have informed you on the aspect of smartphones and how it shaped Wi-Fi and how we communicate, let's address the mental, emotional, and psychological changes in human behavior.
Wi-Fi has had a change on human behavior today because we're getting dragged into the electronics we are around every second of the day. Expert Stephen Sheck says, in fact, Wi-Fi is creating a revolution in building a city. A smart city has to be Wi-Fi enabled for better living of the citizens. Believe it or not, there is an actual disease called nomophobia. This is defined as a fear of anxiety of being without a phone or device.
According to the study done by Psychology Today, about 58% of men and 47% of women suffer from the phobia, and an additional 9% feel stressed when their mobile phones are off. The study compared the common amounts of stress to wedding day nerves and even dentist appointments. A screen is not a face. Dr. Carl Benzio, Executive Director of Lighthouse Network, says that social media causes many barriers in social interaction, including
impatience for the real people because the convenience of the speed of Wi-Fi, too many shallow relationships rather than deepening relationships, using social media to confront and deal with conflict and hide behind the serious topics that should be addressed face-to-face. Are you really best friends if you don't get an Instagram post about it? This is what our society has come down to. We should be able to value one another face-to-face and not through a screen.
Now that you know about the effects of Wi-Fi and social media on human behavior, let's take a look at the influence on society. Immediacy is dependent on the environment.
For example, our parents were subjected to activities that offered fewer distractions and required more attention, such as reading, writing, or playing outside. On the contrary, we are now given visual aids made to stimulate our minds without requiring our full attention, imagination, or memory. So by the time wireless internet took off, we were already accustomed to constant distractions. The brain has a hard time paying attention to information that is being given to us when using internet or smartphones. Researcher Nicholas Carr believes the reason for this is because we do not fully understand the material.
He uses a metaphor to talk about scuba diving and jet skiing to describe his theory, stating book reading is like scuba diving, in which the diver is submerged in a quiet and visually restricted, slow-paced setting with few distractions. As a result, it is required to focus narrowly and think deeply on the limited information that is available to them. In contrast, using the internet is like jet skiing, in which the jet skier is skimming along the surface of the water at high speed with broad vistas and surrounded by many distractions, and it is only able to focus on one fleeting item at a time.
Many people text and walk while crossing the street, hence the fact that Apple had to make an app called Type and Walk, because 1 in 3 people are too distracted by a mobile or cellular device while crossing the street. We are becoming an antisocial and lazy culture. We're relying on a form of communication that takes little to no effort. Statistics from Pew Internet and American Life Project show that these days, many people with cell phones prefer texting to a phone call. This is mainly due to the fact that we're afraid of emotion, but that isn't the case for everyone. 37% of teens actually video chat.
Video chatting is a convenient way to see a friend face-to-face without having to leave the comfort of your home. We are eliminated of the real-life interactions with one another because we walk around in default mode with the phones in our hands. This means we are wiping away all the chance to have an actual conversation one-on-one with someone in real life. In college, we are all like vultures when it comes to Wi-Fi access. When the university Wi-Fi is down, the school goes crazy. We can't check our latest Instagram accounts, and we can't keep a conversation going with Snapchat with our best pals. This isn't even talking about when our LTE is out of data. That's a whole nother story.
This is something that our world has heavily relied on. When we don't have access to Wi-Fi, our moods take a whirlwind and we cannot function properly. What does our lifestyle revolve around? Access to whatever we want when we want it.
Now that you're aware of the huge impact that Wi-Fi has on our generation, we will now conclude our presentation. Overall, Wi-Fi and smartphones have both taken a major toll on today's society. The goal for us is to find a healthy balance while being cautious of our time.
We have shared with you the history of Wi-Fi, what the true significance is of this technology, how this wireless internet has changed communication through smartphones, how technology has changed our behavior, and how it influences our lives every day. So as you're all receiving your Snapchats, text messages, and phone calls right now, take a step back and spend some time alone. You will be better off.
Thank
Thank you.